Jeff is out of town this week, but I'm really excited about today. Many of you guys know the speaker this morning, and some of you may not, but I want to just spend a second introducing him to you. His name is Joe Buffa, and some of you, again, know him. Those who don't, Joe and Jennifer have been a part of the Heart Life Church for about 12 years now, and just a wonderful family all around. Wonderful daughters, and just a great family. They were a part of. They were attended here at the first when they first came. Come on up, Joe, and then we're a part of the very first campus that we started in Peculiar, and we're key in starting that, and just a wonderful man, and really excited about hearing some of his story. Some of you know that he's had some challenges, and he's going to share that and talk about how God has walked him through that. So no further introduction necessary, Joe.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I thought the best place to start is, might as well go clear back about 28 years ago when I first seen my wife, my amazing wife. This goes back to Raymore Elementary, between the 5th and 6th grade year. She didn't go here. I've been here my whole life in Raymore, but she came from Kansas City. But so I went there, that meet the teacher type thing, before the year gets started, and in the hallways, getting to see everybody for class. The next week the year starts, and I remember looking down the hallway, and I seen this girl. She's standing over there like this, just kind of leaning up against the block wall. I looked down there and thought, wow, who's that? Back then there was hardly anybody at Raymore, so everybody knew they were new because everybody knew everybody. So I asked my friends, who's that girl down there? I don't know. And I asked another one, who is that? Oh, that's the new girl. I said, oh, okay. So I just remember that, went home. The next week, school started. And the alphabetical thing, my last name started with a B, hers started with a C. And she sat right in front of me, just perfect. So she sat right there, and I got to talking to her all the time, flirting with her, getting her in trouble, all that goofy stuff that goes on. And so she, her pencils would break, she'd reach back, and I'd fix her little mechanical pencils, all that stuff like that. And time went on, and now, we're through the 6th grade. Now we're 7th grade, middle school. We had different classes then. So at that point, it wasn't always in the same class, but I always managed to try to find her when I did. So anyway, time went on. Now, middle school's over. Now I'm in the freshman. I'm all grown up, mature, know everything, now. So she's, here she is. I thought, what, I'm going to ask her out. And I did, and she said yes. I couldn't believe it. A girl like her with a guy like me, what's she thinking, But hey, it worked out, so I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe she said yes. So time went on. We were together through high school, went to proms, did all the stuff, did all the, got the best, best relationship, best, couple and all that stuff in the yearbooks and everything. And then between our junior, senior year, we made some really bad choices. She came up pregnant. And so now we're 17 years old, and in our senior year, we're now going to have a baby. So we're starting a family. So, those were tough times, obviously, and said, we talked about it. What are we going to do now? We had to figure all that out. So we said, well, let's graduate early. She graduated. She went half day, half year. I went half the year. She was smarter than me, obviously, so she could, do half the day, and I did half the year. So we did that, and I moved in with her mom. Moved in there, and would have been our second semester senior year. We had a beautiful baby, Hillary. We were 17 years old. We had our first child. It was a little overwhelming. What are we going to do? And so at that point we decided we moved out, and we moved to an apartment. And And then, by this time we were 18, we got married. We didn't get married before because her mom's insurance paid for everything, and wouldn't have if we would have gotten married earlier. So we got married at 18. Time went on. And at 18, I wanted to get in the union. My dad was an electrician. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an electrician. I always wanted to be an electrician. So that's what I did. And I got in there and, got in the unions, 5 years of school, go to school at night, and, work during the day. So I started doing that, and we were in a little apartment in Harrisonville. So time went on. I got in, going all over Kansas City doing industrial commercial buildings, and then they sent me down the plaza for 4 months and put Christmas lights up. So then I'd go off to other projects. Time went on. I'm starting to make some more money. I've got, retirement stuff, starting 401k, annuity stuff, got some pension credits starting to build. Things are going pretty good, and time goes on and getting further along in school, and that's all going good. And, went to church every Sunday too. I did that. It was a Sunday, every Sunday morning we went to church. So just remember that. We always went to church. So, time goes on. Now we thought, let's, I think we need to buy a house. So we bought our first house. We were 21 years old, and I'm making more money and all that stuff. And that's just great. And now we're 21. We have our second child, Lauren, another beautiful girl, 21 years old. Time's going on, and I'm running around making more money. I'm getting further along. I'm kind of climbing the ladder. I'm still in school, but I'm making more money each year. Everything's going good. And, just time goes on. Here we go. We're probably 23, 24, somewhere in there. We thought, I think we need to buy a bigger house. So we did that. And before we did that, the project, the plaza lighting down there at the plaza, I was down there just 4 months out of the year, so I spent several years down there, but I was never there the whole time, and the guys that were down there all the time were, they were retiring. So one of them retired, and then the owner of the company brought me in and says, you're doing really well down there. We want you to take over this project. I said, okay, I'll do it. I couldn't believe it. It's a huge project, and things are going good. Making more money. We go move to a house in Garden City. We're about 25 at this time, 25, 26. Okay, that's good. We're gonna do that. Everything's going good. We're making more money, all this stuff. And third child's born, Sarah. Now we have 3 beautiful children. Just wonderful. That's all great. Went to church every Sunday morning. We did all that, and that's all good. So, time went on, and just kept making more money, and kept getting, getting bonuses and things, and, getting the shiny new trucks, and, all that stuff that just meant so much. It kind of becomes your identity, and that's all great. And, time went on, and everything's going great. It just really is. I mean, we got this nice house. I'm getting new trucks. We got my gas cards, got all these things that, I just thought that's just, we got our house, we got a building now full of toys, we're doing all these things and going to church every Sunday morning too, doing all that. We got all those boxes checked. As time goes on, and I was about 27, 28 years old. My dad passed away. And my dad and I were really close. He was an electrician. And that's why when I was 8 years old, I wanted to be an electrician, and it's all what I always wanted to do, and that's what I did. So when he passed away, I was really bitter. I didn't understand all that stuff, like I said, I went to church every Sunday, and my wife, she never went to church, but, earlier on, she went through all the classes at a Catholic church, become a member, and we were both, went to church every Sunday. And that's all it was, a Sunday morning event, and my dad passed away. I was just frustrated. I didn't understand all that. I just battled through it, and, time went on, we had to just move on, push through this thing. And one day my wife comes to me Sunday or after church, I believe it was, earlier in the week. She comes to me, she says, you know what? I don't want to go to the church anymore. I don't want to go to the Catholic Church anymore. I said, I was just devastated. I couldn't believe. I was so mad, just getting through all that stuff with my dad, and now she's pulling this, and she's telling me. I said, why? She says, there's no meaning. We're showing up on Sunday morning. There's nothing to it. It's all these rituals and everything, and all that stuff, and I understood, and everything she was saying, I knew exactly. I would have agreed. It was that pride, I was something I did forever, and I didn't want to change, I just wanted to keep doing that. And so I just thought, you know what, I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I went on about my business, and I thought I had everything in control. Everything was just going great, I had everything just lined up. And so she says, that later on the week, I said, it's time to go to church. So I just thought, well, she's surely not going to carry on with what she said earlier in the week. So she decided that she'd come and told me that, she said, I'm not going to go to church. She's going to go here. And so I was really mad. And what did I do? I didn't do anything. I stayed right at home. I didn't even go to the Catholic Church. I was too embarrassed not to walk in there with my family. So this went on for a few weeks, and I was just frustrated, and when I was at home while she was here with our kids, even those couple of weeks, I could see this change in her, and I could see this change, and I just knew there was stuff going on, but I didn't understand it. And then I would think about when I was at the Catholic Church, how I would see, women with their kids and their husbands weren't there, and I'm thinking, here, I'm doing the same thing. So that next week, I say, you know what, I'll come with you. So I did. So I could come walking in the doors right there, and I was just blown away. I walk in here, and Jeff's standing right here with jeans on. Like, what in the world is this? Where's his robe? Why is he wearing jeans? And what are all these people carrying Bibles around for? This is crazy. That's what he's supposed to be reading that to everybody. And people were loving on one another, excited, talking and everything. And I was just bitter, just mad. I didn't like the whole situation. The pride was just eating me alive. And I just, that time went on and all that going on. And I thought, this went on for about a year. Different things, different events and things would happen. And then here comes, Judgment House and all these different things. I'm just battling through it. Just like, I knew what God speaking through me, Jeff preaching and everything, and I knew what he was saying was right, and I knew it, but I knew that if I broke through and went along with this, and that, my pride and everything, that means that, I was wrong, and I've been wrong for all this time, and my wife was right once again, and it's just, all that stuff's going on. And then we went to this kind of like a new members thing, not like they do now where there's a whole group there. It was just kind of like a one-on-one thing, and it happened to be Jason Reel. By the way, we're good friends now, but over here, and I think this office over here in the corner, we went in there, and there's, I think, a desk or a table in there, and we sat there, and I'm just boiling inside, fighting it. And Jason starts talking. We start talking about we're in the Catholic Church, so he brings it up. Oh, I used to be Catholic. And he said all the same stuff my wife did when he decided to go here. And I'm just envisioning sliding right across that table and I was so mad, I just wanted to choke him. But he didn't do anything wrong. He said everything I needed to hear. He didn't do anything wrong. We're good friends. But I just was battling through it, the pride, This went on for a while, and then probably a year from when I first came, I made the best decision in my life, asked Jesus in my life, and the pride went away and everything, and suddenly my identity started changing. It wasn't about jobs and stuff and money or any of that stuff. It was about Christ, and that was just a process, something you've been doing so long and figuring out it's not a Sunday morning event. It's about a relationship with Christ, and it just took a while for me, so things started changing. I go to work. When I get to work, my guys at work, I was a boss, so I got away with a lot of stuff. I was able to do things, and they were just like, thought I'd been abducted by aliens, just the way the things I did and the changes I made, and time went on. And anyway, things are good. We made a lot of different changes. We ended up moving to Harrisonville and stuff, getting a smaller house, tithing and all that stuff. We didn't do any of that. We didn't know what that was at the time. And then we learned, and we're like, we can't do this. So we made changes. We downsized. Like I said, we moved to Harrisonville, and everything's going good. And, this went on for a couple of years. And then that's, like I said, when my dad passed away, I struggled with that. And something about my dad, tell a quick story about him. He had a disease that he was partially paralyzed from about the waist down. And he didn't have any pain or anything. He just had partially paralyzed. He passed away at about 62. And, he dealt with it for about 30 years. He didn't have any pain. He lost about 90% of the strength in his legs. And so anyway, just remember that. And as I'm going through my job and, I'm working and everything, and like I said, I made all these changes, and I'm down at the plaza, and I just remember I'm kind of walking across the rooftops and stuff at the plaza, and and I noticed I was kind of stumbling. I was catching my foot a little bit, and I looked back in the gravel, and there was like streaks in the gravel, and I thought, what is going on? I noticed the end of my shoe was kind of scuffed up and everything, and so I started having trouble. So the first thing I think, oh gosh, I hope I don't have what my dad has. And so anyway, time goes on. I'm just kind of like trying to forget about that. And then kind of pain starts mixing in with it. I don't understand. So I had to call my wife. I was one of those persons that said, I never get sick. I never go to the doctor. That was a wonderful thing at that time. And so I talked to her. And I said, make me an appointment. I didn't even know who to call. I just went to the doctor every once in a while. And she called and made an appointment. So I went to the doctor. The doctor, I told him what was going on. I told him about my dad and all that. And they said, oh, I'm going to have to send you down the road. You're going to have to go to a specialist. Okay. So went back to work and all that. So I go to the specialist. And I start telling about my dad. No, you don't have none of that. You got some back issues. Go to physical therapy, whatever, So this went on for a long time. I bet you 2.5 years. I got bounced to different neurologists, specialists, doctors, x-rays, MRIs, spinal taps, you name it. Everything. Dead end. Just, it was horrible. I was just it was just sucking the life out of me, because every test I ever did and everywhere I ever went, they said, everything looks good, everything's fine. Sometimes they would say, oh, well, there might be a little something here, but no, it's just, everything's fine. And it was really eating on me. It was really tough. And so finally I went to another neurologist. She actually moved here at a practice, and she came from Mayo Clinic, and went through all these tests again. And she really spent time with me. We spent a lot of time together. She knew my frustrations, and she knew what I've been going through, and she was a Christian too, and that was wonderful. And she was helping me work through different tests and things, and looking things different, and send me and the same thing. Every test I go, everything looks good, everything's good. And I just, and then finally she says, I'm going to give you one more test, called an evoked potential test, where they put all these wires all over your skull, and then they put all these wires on your feet and all this stuff, and do this test. And it's not a test, pass or fail. It's real obvious. It's a test where they have to do all these calculations. You go in there, they do all these tests. It takes a long time. They got all this equipment. So I left, came back later, just knowing that everything was going to be fine again, and have to be told that, sorry, we can't find anything. We don't want to tell you. And so I walk in, and she walks in. I'm looking up at her, and she said, your test came up abnormal. And I threw this little party. I was so excited. I said, this is great, and then she just looked at me. Like I said, I spent a lot of time with her, so normally you don't get that connection with the doctor. I remember looking at her and these tears kind of welled up in her eyes, and she said, "Joe, don't get excited. This isn't good. This isn't good. As a matter of fact, I don't even know what to do with this. So this is out of my league." And you can imagine when a neurologist says this is out of my league, what goes through your mind. And she says, "You're going to have to go to Mayo Clinic." And Mayo Clinic's one of the biggest and best medical facilities in the world up in Rochester, Minnesota. She says, "You're going to have to go there." So what's that going to take? She said, "Well, it may take a couple months to get awarded an appointment, but you're not going to have no problem because they work on, they deal with people that's rare stuff and difficult stuff like you. So you're not going to have no problem, but you're going to, it may take 2 months." I said, "Okay." So I went back. I had to go home, face the family, discuss all this stuff with them. It was just, that's so difficult dealing with that and trying to work through that. Even all this still, you got to be a father, you got to be a husband, you got to work, all these things mixing in all this. So I'm processing all this stuff and knowing what God said, he's going to work things out, and praying and digging in and just trusting him and just not understanding everything. So the next day, I went to tell the guys at work. We went to a restaurant down there, and I had all my guys around. I wanted to tell them because they're obviously always wanting to know. I was getting ready to tell them. We're sitting down, and my phone rings. This is less than 24 hours from the test. It says Rochester, Minnesota on my phone. So I answer it. They said, "This is Mayo Clinic." I thought, man, that was fast. That's probably not good. So they told me, they said, we want you to come up Monday. This is first in the week. I said, "Can I call you back?" I said, "I got to call my wife, I said, "How long am I going to be there?" She said, "Probably a week." So I said, "Okay." So time went on, and I called my wife. I explained to her. So I called him back. I said, "Can I wait a couple weeks?" "Yeah, we can wait a couple weeks." So we went up there for a week and a half, and when you go up there, they set us up with this neurologist. Her name is Dr. Gavrilova. There's 1,700 specialists from all over the world, and they put me with her, and she kind of laid out our plan for the week. We went there like on a Wednesday, and we left on the next Wednesday. So we went in there, sat down with her for 2 hours, went over all the records, all those years of all them tests, and discussed everything. She said all this and told her about my dad. My dad actually had been there in 1977 to get, the same process basically. And I told her about all that, and she listened to everything. She goes, "Okay," they give you an itinerary basically, and they say, "You're going to take all these different tests at all these different times, all these different places." Mayo Clinic's not a building, it's the whole city. It's incredible. So we start doing that. So every test and everything I did for that 2.5, 3 years, I did it all over again in a week. And after you do that, they bring you back. I went back to this same neurologist. She went over all those tests, and they set you down and go over everything. And she looked at me and says, "You have exactly what your dad has. Hereditary spastic paraparesis," which my case is different. They call it complicated hereditary spastic paraparesis. And I said, "I don't understand. It doesn't look like nothing." I said, "I can still walk around." I said, "It doesn't look the same." And she says, turned her screen around, and she said, "See, there's 20,000 people that have this, and you're one of them." She said, "See these different cases that have been diagnosed all over the world?" She said, "There's not two alike. Even within the same family, it'll never look the same. The genes mutate, and it takes its own little path." Okay, now what? What are we going to do to fix this thing? She said, the only thing I can tell you is it's going to get worse, and you can treat the symptoms. There's nothing we can do. That's all you got." Okay. So hopped back in the car, headed back home, had to face, tell the kids and everything that, this is a lifetime thing. We're not going to fix this. We're going to just keep trusting God. We're going to keep working through this. It was hard times, real hard times. It's just continually battling this and working through this. And at this time, I've been fighting through all this stuff at work, trying to do my job. My work is incredible. They allowed so many things. I never missed a minute. of money or anything. They always worked through everything. They took care of me and all that, but it's just hard. I'm so glad it's me and it's not my family, but the hardest thing of it is having my family having to deal with this. So time went on, and now, I'm at work and I'm struggling at work and I'm fighting through it. And the doctors would say, "You need to retire." And I just fight, "Are you crazy? I'm in my 30s. I'm not retiring." And I just battling through that, working through that, and just fighting it through work and giving my family the leftovers when I get home. I was exhausted. I had nothing left. I'm in so much pain. I'm going to meetings, sneaking off in bathrooms, puking, coming back with a smile on my face, trying to do my job. Now they brought in extra people to come alongside of me at work, to do things to where I didn't have to do all those things. It was just still hard. So they said, "Okay, I need to treat some symptoms." They said, "I can treat symptoms." And they said, "Well, what are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, we can implant a pump in you," because I was getting real spastic-y. I was getting where I was just kind of like this, and I'd trip and I'd fall on. I had to dress real warm because I was jerking all the time. My legs wouldn't bend, and I'd trip and fall up steps, or just walking straight, I'd fall down. Work is terrible. And that wasn't painful. There was also deep nerve pain in my skin, just like complete sunburn. Sometimes it's way worse than others. And just trying to work through that, I said, "Well, we're going to put this pump in you." Okay. So they put the pump in, and I got a catheter that goes around. It's all implanted. There's no duct tape or anything. It's all implanted. So they said it may, when we take care of these spasms and everything, it may take care of a lot of that pain, and it didn't. They implanted it in 2010, so it just wiped about 90% of the spasticity away. It did take care of a ton of that. It was incredible. It did that, but it didn't touch the pain. So now, at this point, they start, doing different things, and then I got to a point where I had to make a decision about work. It just, so I had to make a decision. I said on April 29th, I called them up and had to tell them that April 29th is my last day of work. So I worked through that, and April 29th came, 2011, and all those shiny trucks and all those credit cards and all those gas cards and all that stuff, I had to give it all back, Here it goes, give it all back, which is good. It's just been amazing, all the people that's come alongside, all the prayer and what God's done through all this. It's just unbelievable what's gone on. And that was 4 years ago, obviously. So things have progressed and gotten worse. Time's gone on. I mean, there's been huge blessings over all this whole thing, all the way through it, And it's just been amazing, all the things and the people that come alongside of us working through this. But it just, like I said, over time it's getting worse. And at that time, I lost the ability to sit down. So I can't sit down. I haven't sat down in a chair in 4.5 years. And I can't run, jump, or anything. My wife has to help me get dressed every morning, put my socks on and everything. I got grabbers everywhere to put my jeans on. And I've gotten really good with these grabbers. You wouldn't believe the things I can do. But she helps me do that, and she never complains. She just does it. She never complains. She does it every morning. And she's been right there through this whole thing. She's just been right there, in sickness and in health. When she said it, and all that, she meant it. And she's just incredible. And it's incredible, all the stuff my kids have been through and the blessings that come out of this. God never wastes a hurt. It's just been incredible, the things. So anyway, time has gone on. Like I said, I can't sit in all these things, So I can stand, obviously, and walk. Can't walk real far at this point, and I can lay down and all that stuff, and I can't lift anything over 8 to 10 pounds. I could literally, lift 200 or 300 pounds. It's not the strength issue, it's what happens in my spinal cord. The neurologist explained it to me. He said, if you got your conduit, me being an electrician, says, got a conduit full of wires, and it's like a screw's screwed right through the conduit. And all the wires are shorting out. If you do that in a building, breakers start tripping. You do that in a body, chaos starts, pain. Instead of breakers tripping, you got pain, and you got all kinds of chaos, So it affects me from here to there, on the surface, all the way inside. So, like I said, I'm treating symptoms, so I'm going down through the doctors and everything, trying to figure out different things to do. And they're giving me different things. So they said, we're going to try a neurostimulator on you. That's where they put a bundle of wires up your spinal cord and tap into your spinal cord and stimulate it and all that. So they tried that, didn't work, didn't do nothing. As a matter of one thing it did do to let them know how severe things were, because they were sending signals over here and it'd come out over here. It was just, they couldn't believe the results that were happening from it. So time goes on, and when the neurosurgeon they sent me to, he says, gosh, I said, is there anything you got for me? Because the pump, I've done everything with the pump. I've done every narcotic through the pump. It just caused more trouble. So all the trouble I already had, it just caused more trouble. So I went back to my one medication, this baclofen, keeps all the spasticity down. So no pain medicines, no narcotics do anything but create more trouble. So the neurosurgeon says, there's something I do have for you. He said, I can go in your brain. I said, you're so severe and your central nervous system so messed up that we can't go beyond anything, but we'd have to go to your brain where everything originates. I said, what does that consist of? Well, we're going to have to drill a 5/8 hole in the top of your head and feed two cables down, one to your brain stem, one to the center of your brain, and then we'll route all them wires down and put a machine here. Okay, I said, well, what's the success rate have you done? So, well, we've only done 6. I said, what about other doctors? He said, I'm the only doctor in the United States that does this. Really? He said, yeah, and there's only 2 other places in the world that do it. Oxford University in England and Vancouver, Canada. So if you were to do it in the United States, you'd be number 7. So I said, okay. And at that point, it's just too much for the family. Their kids were younger, and it's been 2.5 years ago, and I was like, it's just too much for them to deal with at this point. Through all this, we're still raising kids. I'm still trying to be a husband and a father, and just so much going on. And at the same time, there's been huge blessings through it all too. It's just been incredible how God works everything out. He never wastes a hurt. But so time went on, and as I get worse, I used to be able to lean against a stool, and that I lost that, and I got to where I couldn't clap my hands anymore. And it's just I try to just cover a lot of it up just for sake of my kids and stuff, and I try to hide as much as I can, but you can't hide everything. Obviously, you're not working and getting surgeries, and so I'm getting worse. Time goes on, and I told my wife, I said, I'm going to have to talk to him again about this brain surgery, and so we went back in and talked to him, and I said, well, I'm going to have to do this. So 2 months ago, or 7 weeks ago, I underwent brain surgery, and they did all that, and the family have to deal with all that stuff, but God, and amongst all this, He has performed incredible miracles with insurance companies. This isn't FDA approved. It's unbelievable. I mean, I could spend a month telling you all the different miracles God's performed through all this, and people have been reached through this stuff. It's just unbelievable how He works. But so I had this brain surgery done. I now have 8 wires inside my brain, and they come out into a machine right here. So I got all this stuff implanted. And like I said, I'm just treating symptoms. I'm not fixing nothing. It's too early to tell what it's done. I have been able to clap my hands again. Sounds like, wow, that's all. That's huge for me. I've had benefit for up here. I can't set or nothing. They're hoping maybe in a year or so, maybe I can be able to do that, maybe not. They went on this side to take care of the left side of my body. They'll have to go in again on this side to take care of the right side of my body. But they want to perfect this side first and see the best benefit I can get out of it. And so, just working through all that stuff and trying to, manage all that. It's been really tough, but the miracles have been performed through all this stuff. It's just, like I say, it's unbelievable how God works and he never wastes a hurt. And at this point, this has been almost 8 years now. I can't even believe it's almost been 8 years now this has gone on. But I sit there and look back and I think, wow, my identity, when my identity changed and all that timing, how God's timing and everything was of, just when all this took place, and the identity, if my identity was in all those things that I thought it was. But, when your identity is in Christ, that can never go away. But you put it in all these other things, money and jobs and all that stuff, it's gone. Look at me, it's all gone. All that stuff's gone. But they ain't never going to take Christ from me and my family and all that stuff. But, it's just been incredible. But I got a little illustration I want to show you. So, you guys probably remember this. Jeff did this, I don't know, a few years ago. It was just something that just really stuck in my mind. You look at this rope here, and, just pretend this rope goes forever. And this is our life here on earth. Look at the perspective. So, you're probably thinking, man, I feel sorry for that guy up here talking, right? Don't feel sorry for me. I really got it made. This is our time on earth right here, and what happens here determines millions and millions and millions and millions of years, Sometimes we act like this right here is eternity, and look how short, it's just a vapor. It's just nothing. It's just a few years. Sometimes, it's easier said than done. I'm going to make this a little more personal to me, but let's just say, that I'm going to call this my danger zone right here. This is before I got saved. And this is after I got saved. Look how he's lined things up. Look at all these things that took place in my life. 17-year-old having a kid, starting a family and everything. Through his grace, he took all those things, having a family that young. It was just so scary at the time, and he worked through that. I got a really good job with benefits and all that stuff, even though all that stuff, I don't put in all that stuff anymore because I can't legally because I'm retired now. But I still have what I built up. God's worked crazy miracles through all retirements and stuff, and my health benefits and through my union. So many miracles have been performed through all this stuff. But just look at all that stuff that's happened before I got saved. That just seemed overwhelming. And through his grace, he's taken it. And I'm sure glad I had a young family when I was young. I had these 3 kids, and I got to play with them, do all these things. And they're grown now. I have a 23-year-old that's married now. She'll be 23, and she's married now, and I got an almost 20-year-old and almost 15-year-old. And when they were young, I got to do all kinds of stuff with them, and so I just look at all these different things, I just think about, what if all these things after I got saved, if all these things over here happened over here, I wouldn't be here today. I couldn't handle it. Because my identity wasn't in Christ, My identity was in just, working and jobs and money and whatever I had to do. There's no way. If any of this happened over here, I wouldn't be here today telling you all this. I wouldn't have made it. There's no way. I sit there and I think, people think, oh, I feel so sorry for you. And you got to deal with all this stuff. It's just for a short time. I got all this, anybody that's, has Christ is going to have all this forever with him. But, it's just amazing the stuff and the blessings that's come through all this. Just everything. Just how everything's lined up through his grace. But, my wife, everybody says, oh, you guys, this marriage must suffer through all this. Our marriage is rock solid through all this, he just made our marriage so close. I got an incredible wife. It's just amazing. And just all the stuff that has happened through here, it just built our relationship, made it stronger, and it's just incredible. I got to fight this disease. I hate it, but I'm so blessed that it's me and it's not my kids. I hate that they have to deal with it. I struggle through it every day. I really do. But I got all this, and I can't wait. I got all this, but he uses everything. I don't care how bad it is. He uses everything for his good. And in all his grace through this whole story. I mean, can you imagine? With God, all this was possible. Without him, it's not possible for me. I wouldn't be here today. There's no way. Like I said, as much as I struggle through it, he's still using me. He's still using me through all this, and he's going to keep using me. But one day it'll all be gone. And people say, oh, when you get to heaven, you're going to be able to sit down. I doubt I'm going to be sitting down when I'm in heaven. I don't want to be sitting down. I'm going to have my hands in there on the dead run, I hope. But this is, I just look at this. I mean, I got it made, so don't feel sorry for me. I just so glad this happened right here. Because it sure, this whole story, but a whole lot different, because it would have ended way before now, and I wouldn't be here to talk to you about this. So, it's just all the different perspectives I had through this whole thing, all the different surgeries and all the stuff, knowing that, I'm not going to fix it, stop it, take it away. You just keep treating symptoms, but you just keep moving on. God works miracles in everything. He uses everything for his good. He turns horrible things into incredible things. I just look at this whole thing as I've been preparing, thinking about all this stuff, all the things he's done. I mean, it's just, one day I don't have to deal with this anymore, but until that day is, I don't know what this day is. I don't know if this day is to the next campus. I don't know if it's tomorrow. I don't know if it's 30 years from now. I don't know what it is. But till that day is, I'm going to keep allowing him he's going to keep using me. And, that's where I'm at, and like I said, it's a daily struggle, but I'm going to keep working through it. And like I said, there's no one that gets the glory for all this but God, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here telling this story. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's my story. And God's going to keep working through it. He's performed miracles, and I don't care what someone's going through and the hurt and whatever you're dealing with, God can make it good. And he's just done amazing things, just miracle after miracle. It's not accidents or coincidences or lucky. It's all God's miracle and God's work. And I give him all the glory and to get us as far as we have. And we're just going to keep plugging through, fighting through it. So that's my story. Thank you.
I appreciate so much Joe sharing that, because I would venture to guess that not many of us have experienced the kind of things that he's experienced, but no doubt all of us have experienced hurt in our life. And he said this multiple times, and I think this is the message that I want to end with this morning, and that is that God never wastes a hurt. And you've probably seen that, on wall hangings or, in different books or whatever. You've seen that God never wastes a hurt. But let me tell you that really becomes real when it's your hurt. And it's true. He doesn't. And what Joe has experienced and his family is beyond my comprehension, honestly. But he's still praising God. And the role that his relationship with Christ has played through this time, he made very clear that he wouldn't be able to even talk about it had he not known Christ during this time of his life where he's experienced all this. And maybe that's you this morning too, is you're in a situation where there's just a lot of hurt. And the message that we have for you today is that doesn't need to be wasted. God can use those things in miraculous ways. And you may not even be able to see that now, but our prayer for you is that you would be able to take the hurt that you've experienced and use it for God's glory. As we sing this next song, there'll be some people in the front here, and if you want to talk to somebody about that, please respond. Please do that, and please let them know how you want to use the hurt that you've had to glorify Him in the future. So let's pray together. Father, I thank you for Joe and Jennifer, and God, what a tremendous story, and Lord, I just appreciate so much the fact that His humility in the whole thing, that don't feel sorry for me. God, I thank you for His attitude throughout the whole thing. Always looking to you, always looking to how you're going to use His experiences to glorify you. And God, He's done a great job of that today. So Lord, I pray that as we evaluate our own lives, that you would help us to understand the things that we've done in the past, the things that we're experiencing now, how those can be used to glorify you. And that's the message, because you will never waste those things. Nothing is ever wasted. God, I pray that you would reveal those things to us this morning, challenge us with those things this morning, and help us to see you throughout the whole thing. It's in your name we pray. Amen.